Welcome back to our series finale of the Lee's Guide Openings for Beginners. And once again, I want to give a big thanks to Alex Holmes for joining us to really discuss and break down these openings. Alex, I really appreciate your time and thank you for really working with this video series with me.
Absolutely. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you inviting me to do this. I mean, I'm enjoying myself over here. This is a lot of fun talking about this and, getting back into checkers. It's been a rough last couple of months due to this pandemic, and I'm glad I get to talk to checkers with somebody I know very well. So,
yeah, I feel the same way, Alex. This is hopefully will give some people, can take their minds off some negativity and really focus on a nice hobby, a lifelong hobby that you can enjoy with checkers. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so we're on the home stretch here now. This is the final part of this video series. So only 10 more openings to go. So let's get started. Opening number 31, we have the Souter. And the Souter is 11-15, 23-19, 9-14, 22-17, and then 6-9 is the way the Souter is developed. Now, this opening has seen a lot of play recently in some world championship matches. It's historically been known as a complex opening that can really number different traps and pitfalls. But even when you get into the mid game, the scope is kind of limited. Really, there's restrictions on both sides. So with that being said, Alex, I'd love to hear your take on this because I know you do like tricks and traps, but this opening, it's kind of narrow in scope.
Yeah, it's definitely. I will definitely play this line from time to time, even though I wouldn't say it's one of my top lines, but I do like playing this line for sure, just because of how complex it is and how easy of a loss it is, you can go into for both sides. But I do like playing it. And I've had a good amount of success on it just because I'm more based off of a cross-board type of player instead of a published play type of player. This is definitely in my alley, a type of game. So, yeah, I really like to play this opening. Even though it isn't one of my favorites, I do love to play it.
Yeah, this was an opening that I also saw a lot online when I first started playing. But really haven't since. I know, like I mentioned, it is played at the highest levels today. I know Sergio has played this a number of times, I believe, and Conroe as well. Ron too, Alex Moiseev as well. It is very complex. I studied it just because I wanted to, again, be immersed in it. I wanted to learn something different other than single corner and old 14th. Would I recommend a beginner to learn this opening? Maybe just to kind of see some of the ideas and the themes behind it. But I don't know, Alex, I'm kind of torn here. Do you think this is for beginners or should they wait a little bit longer to get into this opening?
I would say I'd probably go into intermediates because it is such a kind of a tricky line for both sides, and you can easily go into losses with both sides. I would say that this wouldn't want to be one of your openings you want to start out with. What I do recommend them learn it eventually as they get the feeling more for the game, and as this is one of the lines that you want to learn, especially if you want to end up playing in tournaments. It's definitely a good line to study for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, I agree with that 100%. If you're looking really to get into tournament play and enhance your overall understanding of the game, this is a good opening to know. But yeah, I'd say I was kind of, by a necessity, I wanted to learn this line. But if I had to go back and kind of do things over again, I would probably wait this opening a little bit longer. Maybe after I'd been playing for maybe about a year and a half, maybe to 2 years before I started learning this line.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Absolutely.
All right. So the next opening, Alex, we have the Switcher. And the Switcher is 11-15, and 2117, and almost universally, the reply here to further the bind would be 913. But the 2117 is really what designates the opening, what starts the opening. Alex, I'm sure you have a lot of opinion about this opening. I have a lot of opinion as well, but let's hear your thoughts about this.
Yeah, I love to play this with the white side, to be honest with you. This is probably my favorite line to play with the white side, just because of the fact that it is you can turn to a lot of complicated games, and you can also win a lot of games that way, even though I know I can go into a lot of different losses, but I'm definitely comfortable on trying to get more wins than I do lose. So I love to play this all the time and go to please. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a gambit line, because there's really no gambit to it. It's just traditionally you're really sort of, and again, I don't want to say backing yourself into a corner as well, because there are traps and there's some fun things you can do with it. But when you're playing against someone that's pretty well posted and published play, you really need to be on your heels here from the white or the second side, because
absolutely.
There's a lot the first side can do. And Alex, I believe there was a famous exchange. I don't know if it was Basil Case and Walter Hellman, but two grandmasters were talking about the switcher opening, I believe. And they said, there's so many attacks that the first side can do. And the other grandmaster said, yeah, but they can only choose one of them. So yeah, there's a lot to this, but you really, once you kind of go down a path and a line, you have to stick with it.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, and again, it doesn't surprise me that you like this and score a lot of wins with this, just because again, you're well versed in this and you're comfortable playing this. For me, I don't recommend beginners play this, just because if you're going up against someone that is well posted in knowledge and really has a great understanding of positional play, they'll probably get the better end of it, unless of course you're playing someone like of your caliber or your stature, where they'll publish play and standard play as well. But I would say maybe fringe intermediate or even expert level would be my recommendation here.
I would probably agree with that, just because of the fact that white has to make quite a few star moves to make sure he doesn't lose based off how red wants to attack it. I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, it's a tricky one for sure. But I think, again, once you become more familiar with some fundamental positions and really understanding of the game, maybe try it out and just to see how you fare well. I know, when I first started trying this opening out, I failed miserably. I lost a lot of games just because there's a lot of nuances to it, and it's really, really very tricky.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have an opening, which again, Alex, I think you're a fan of this, is the Tillicoultry. And the Tillicoultry is 11-15, 23-19, 8-11, and then the 22-Exchange after that. So I mean, I could be wrong. I feel like you might like this opening, but what's your take here, Alex?
This is definitely an interesting line. I haven't played it too much here lately in the past year or so, but I have played it quite a few times beforehand, and I've done pretty fairly on it. I've never played it someone that does it on the white side, but I've played it with white, and I've done pretty fairly on it. I think I've mainly gotten draws, maybe a loss and a win here or there, but I haven't really had any ups or downs for sure on it. So it's mainly been draws for me on this.
Yeah, I feel like, with this opening, it has had its disciples over the years. I think Albert Lauder has played it. Carl Reno has played it, I believe. It's, of course, generally seen as weak for the second side because of that radical exchange early on. But again, we're talking about a psychological thing. If the first side tries to go 10-15, that's actually not very good, because then the first side kind of disrupts its double corner. I think 11-16 is the traditional best reply after the exchange. But Yeah, I mean, this is an opening where I don't recommend it all for beginners just because of that early disruption. But once
Hmm.
you can become more acquainted with the game, to maybe take a look at it. But I personally haven't had much use for this opening, Alex.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, I really haven't had anything other than draws on it. So I mean, it's hard to win with the white side for sure. So I definitely don't recommend playing this for a beginner, and even possibly you'd probably want to wait until expert to look at this, just because of the fact that there's better moves for white to also be creative with on the line. But yeah, I would definitely wait on this for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, I would wait until yeah, at least you're an expert in the field, and then once you become an expert in checkers, maybe evaluate this opening again. Maybe you'll think, okay, well, this opening still isn't for me, or maybe you do want to test it out, and maybe you can try to get some wins from the second side. So yeah,
Hmm.
I agree with you 100% there, Alex. Okay, next up we have the Wagram opening, which is we alluded to this, I think, even in our first part of this video series, where you have 11-15, 22-17, 9-13, and then instead of the 17-14, which is the Boston, as we talked about, the 24-20, and then the 13-22, the 25-11 jumps, and then 8-15. So very even opening, a classic line that's been played in all classes of players. And I know that it's been played, at the highest levels in master play, and maybe, yeah, I think even in World Championship plays, title games as recently as well. But I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts and opinions about this, Alex.
Yeah, I good amount of time the players play this instead of the 17-14 line, to avoid the doctor, especially since a lot of people know that I like it. A lot of people play the 24-20 instead of the doctor for sure. And yeah, I like this line for both sides, really. I mean, it's a good, nice line. There's still a bunch of ways that both sides can lose it per se, and a lot of different play on it. But I really gotten a lot of draws, man. I haven't really lost it all. I've got quite a few wins, but I haven't really lost it that much. It's with both sides too. Because I do play it on occasionally with white as well, along with the red side. So
Yeah, I remember back in the 2005 junior championship. I remember I was talking with your dad, actually, and he was going over a line within the Wagram, the 6-9 follow up instead of the traditional 5-9 or 4-8. So he gave me some kind of insight there. I think this opening, yeah, it's pretty even. I know Clayton Nash introduced or reintroduced an old line, the 15-18 advance, once the piece is on 14, and supporting it that way. But yeah,
mm-hmm.
this is an opening that I do recommend people at least learn, because again, I'm not sure how much you would see it in online play. Certainly in tournament play, I think you would see it a lot more. But I think this is
Yeah.
a good opening to know.
Yeah, for sure. I think I would, if I was starting from the beginner standpoint, I think I would rather try to learn this line instead of the doctor line first, just because of the fact that the doctor lines are more complicated and tricky for both sides, and then this line is more of a standard and more even game for both sides. That'd just be how I'd look at it if I was playing from a beginner standpoint of view.
Yeah, that's a great point. So really, I think the lesson here would be, when you're playing 11-15 and your opponent replies 22-17, don't go 8-11, go 9-13 first, and then let them play the Wagram, let them play the Boston. You can get into the Excalibur Cook at that point, but let them play the Wagram. So that kind of limits the scope. And then, yeah, if you learn this opening and study it, then you're going to be significantly better off and well prepared against your opponents.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Next up, Alex, we actually come to my personal favorite Go As You Please opening. So I can talk about this opening on end, but I definitely want to hear your initial thoughts.
All right.
That is the Waterloo. So the Waterloo is 11-15, 23-18, 8-11, and then the 18-14 advance. So giving a piece up, 9-18, and then 24-19, the jumps there. And then traditionally 28-19 is the reply. But of course I go 27-20 the side jump. So for the viewers that are watching this, I'm sure you're just flabbergasted at what is the second side doing. This looks so weak and horrible. I love it. But Alex, again, I can talk about this for on end, but I'll let you start the conversation here about the Waterloo.
Oh no, I mean you can definitely go ahead and start off with this, because I mean mainly all I got is that I love playing this because this, instead of me always playing the cross first, I actually used to always play with I used to always play the Waterloo, but I always jumped to 28-19 instead of 27-20. So yeah, I mean, you go right ahead first. I actually am going to learn something new right here too. So,
well, I mean, I've been playing this opening for about 18 years, and it works twofold. One, it's great psychologically because your opponents aren't expecting this, and the goal obviously would be to crowd the center, but if you crowd it too much, that can really be at a detriment. And so many players fall into these losses. It's also more restricted than you might think. Certainly, the first side has its option of 11-16, 11-15, 10-14, 10-15, 5-9. So there's certainly some possibilities, but then once you kind of stick with one route, you kind of have to go with it. So if you commit 11-15, you have to go that route. If you commit 5-9, you can go 11-15, but you're restricting yourself and you're building into really what White wants you to do.
right.
Wants you to do. So I would say, again, I spent 18 years. I'm still learning new things in this opening all the time. I used it exclusively in the match against South Africa. And again, played, I believe I just had all draws with it. I don't think anyone was able to beat me, which was my goal. I didn't want to lose in the go as you please portion of that match. But I again, it's a psychological thing for me. And it's also, I've been playing it for so long. And when you do something for that long, it kind of sticks with you and grows with you. And my understanding, I think along with Jack Francis, are the only two serious players actually using this. Alex, I know you said you used it in the past, but do you still sometimes actively play it?
I do every now and then, for sure. Again, I always jump to 28-19 route when I play this, but yeah, I still do occasionally play the Waterloo. Mainly when I play the cross, I play the crescent cross with the white side. I do not play the regular cross or even the Waterloo that much, but I do still play it from time to time because, for instance, if I'm playing against Jim Morrison, who obviously, who's a cross expert, I always want to play the Waterloo on him because that's my best chance of getting a draw, let alone even a possible win off the cross. It's almost impossible to even get a draw off the cross with him, let alone a win. So yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean, to play the cross against Jim Morrison, and for the viewers, Jim Morrison is a grandmaster player. He has played in many Go As You Please World Championship matches, and I don't think he's exclusively played cross in all of them, but I know that was the majority of his defense, right, Alex?
Yeah, he definitely plays a lot of different Go As You Please lines, but I know for sure that the cross is by far his favorite and go-to style because he knows so much about it. Like, even if I play the slip cross, and usually people don't know that, he knows that so well just because he's such a cross master. Like, that's just his favorite game. And, there's only so much you can do about it. I mean, you can even think go in the right direction and everything. You're still hesitant to make moves because you know he's going to win if you make a mistake, because he usually knows exactly where he's going on the cross. And you're just lucky if, you play a good game and if you get a draw out of it, off the cross, off of him. So.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly there, Alex. Checkers is a game where, again, a lot of the viewers and a lot of people first getting into checkers, maybe there's some, pre-notion things that they have associated with the game, but hopefully, these videos show that there's so much scope and there's so much depth to this game that even for players like us, ones that have, been playing for a long time in the tournament circuit, when you come across a player like a Jim Morrison that's just such an expert on these lines, your best hope, you're probably not even thinking win. I mean, of course, we always want to win, but when you're playing that caliber in this type of opening, your best hope really is just to get a draw and then move on to the next opening.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I actually, the last time him and I played against each other, I forgot to say this, we actually drew the Black Doctor, and I actually beat him the last time we played on that. But if I play against him with the cross, I'm not even going to try to go for a win unless I obviously see it. I never try. That is one of the rare occasions I will never try to play a win if I'm playing Jim Morrison on the cross. That is one of the rare times.
Yeah. Well, but no, hey, that's congratulations. You're able to snag a win with the Black Doctor, which, again, for the viewers, if you do ever come across Alex, avoid playing the Black Doctor against him because it probably won't be a great experience. So, okay, well, we probably spent way too much time on the Waterloo. My goodness, I apologize.
Yeah.
So the next opening, we have the Whilter, which the Whilter is a very common opening one. I'm sure you have seen played online quite a bit, and that goes 11-15, 23-19, 9-14, 22-17, and then the development of the apex piece for the first side, 7-11. So this is an opening that is very complicated. Again, one that has a lot of tempo. The right moves must fall into the right place. I'm sure you have a lot of fun with this, Alex, although really kind of looking at this opening, there probably isn't a lot of scope these days with it. But again, I'd love to hear your take here.
Yeah, I mainly play this online. I haven't really played this in tournaments here recently. And I think the reason for that is it's mainly for people that kind of, I wouldn't say don't know where to go, but just don't know published play that much. And, if it knows published play, they're usually gonna, not fall into any losses or any traps or anything like that. So I usually don't play this line anywhere except online, but it is a fun line to play, and it's a good line to learn as well. It can definitely sometimes, if you get the right opponent, you can definitely get a win off of this with the red side. But yeah, this is I wouldn't say a simple line, but it kind of plays itself out type of line, in my opinion.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. In fact, I actually had some viewers tell me in some comments that they were losing this line because they didn't know the published play and they didn't feel comfortable with it. I imagine when you're first coming across the 7-11 move, you're thinking, oh wow, that's different than the 8-11 or even the 6-9 that you'd see with the Souter. So when you bring out that 7-11 move, that can really throw a lot of people off. So my recommendation here would be, if you're really struggling with this opening from the second side and you want to learn how to properly defend it and maybe even get some wins if your opponents, slip up or make a move out of tempo, I would study this for sure. But but maybe, I don't know, Alex, where would you rate the Whilter? Because I'm kind of on the fence here. I think I could make an argument that it would be fringe beginner or even intermediate, but I don't know. I could be persuaded either way at this point.
I would say it just goes on the type of person that, if you're struggling on this line and you're if a lot of people are playing 11-15, 23-19, and then 9-14 on you, with you being the white side, I would definitely learn this line for sure. Because when you get in this formation right here, when it goes 7-11, usually where I always go is either 17-13 or 26-23, and I usually get wins off of that. But like I said, I've never really played. I haven't really played too many people that do play this, so that's just a personal experience for me. So I really haven't taken much time to study this line recently. But yeah, so always try to make sure they don't get the piece. Your best hope is that you want to attack the piece that goes from 15-18. You don't want them to just let them be able to protect it for so long, because that's probably how you're all losing, is you're all letting them develop too far and you're trying to be too patient with it. If they try to develop that piece too far, then you got to be aggressive and try to win it. You don't want to be too passive and try to play too safe, because that's probably what's getting you in trouble, is if you're struggling on this. You're just playing too safe.
That's a great point. I think this opening allows for a lot of cat and mouse type play, where if you are too passive or maybe trying to be too restrictive, that can come back and actually bite you here.
Absolutely.
And I think too, it goes without saying, if you are looking at entering a tournament, I would for sure learn this opening, because it can pop up. It can transpose in a number of different ways. In fact, I ended up getting this opening against Clayton Nash in one of my earlier tournaments, and we played a straight published play draw. But if I hadn't studied it, I would have been in for a world of hurt at that point. So, but again, Alex, I don't know. Like, do you think this would be good for beginners to know, or do you want to put it in the intermediate category?
I think it would be. It depends if they just want to play online, or if they want to end up playing in some of these tournaments. If they want to play in the tournaments, yeah, I definitely would put in the beginner category, because you definitely want to study this line at least somewhat to a degree. But if you're mainly playing online checkers, I would say this wouldn't be one of the first lines you'd want to study, even though you do want to study, again, somewhat of it eventually. So it really just depends on that matter for me.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I would say if you have a lot of ambition and really want to make some headway in the game, study this for sure. But if you're not struggling with it online, and there's other fish you want to fry, so to speak, I would wait a little bit longer for this opening. All right, so next up, we come to the Whilter-Exchange. And the Whilter-Exchange is 11-15, 23-19, 7-11. And then instead of going 22-17, 9-14, playing into the Whilter, you actually play the Whilter-Exchange, which is the 22-18 and 25-18 exchange back. So this opening, I played it a number of times in tournament play. I have scored wins on both sides. This is a really, Alex, in my opinion, this is one of the liveliest of openings you can play. There's so many possibilities for both sides, wins and losses. I'm sure you have a lot of fun with this if you end up playing it quite a bit.
I definitely agree with you 100%. I've played this a good amount of times, and I've definitely have won more on it than I've lost, and I really enjoy playing this line just because of the fact that there's so many possibilities of a win here. That's why I usually always try to play this. I usually always try to get to this line if I do play a 23-19 opening. I always try to translate it into this type of line right here.
Yeah, and really kind of the scope is good for both sides. Typically here, I think you would play 9-14 is probably best from the first side. 11-15, you can get yourself into a little bit of a tough position, I think, with the development of 21-17 next. But this is a fun line. I really enjoy this. So whenever anyone does play that early 7-11, they don't commit 9-14. I will exchange, 2218 off almost every single time. So I'm glad you kind of agree there. In terms of how you would rate it, though, is this an opening you would recommend for beginners to study, or again, just like with the general Whilter, do you think it's best if they maybe wait a little bit?
Yeah, it depends if you want to play for a draw or a win. I'd say if you want to start winning more games, I would say definitely a beginner's line right here, because this line right here is one of the few lines that you can easily have a win on the board and you not even know it because there's just so much play on it. And that I would definitely put this in a beginner's line just because if you want to win, this is one of the lines for you right here.
Yeah, good point. And I think too, with the complications potentially that you might see with the Whilter, if they move 7-11 first, you're going to find yourself in a significantly more favorable position with that early exchange. So yeah, I agree with you. I like this opening a lot. I've had some success with it, and I think the viewers will too if they end up playing it.
Absolutely.
Okay, next up we have the White Doctor. And Alex, I don't, maybe this isn't fair to say, but for your affinity for the Black Doctor, I think I have the same affinity, but for the White Doctor. I play this as a gambit line every chance I can online. I think it's so much fun to play. It's an opening that is very dangerous, but you can win with both sides. And of course, the opening, there's a number of ways you can play into it, but the traditional way is the 10-14, 22-18, 12-16, 24-20, and then you must take that gambit pitch with 16-19, followed up with the double pitch with 26-19, and then 8. So similar to the Black Doctor, those themes are very similar, but they are a little bit different with the extra move there. So Alex, I like this opening a lot, but what's your opinion about the White Doctor?
I love this opening as well. I probably know just a little bit more on the Black Doctor than I do the White Doctor, but this is one of my favorite openings as well right here. I know a lot about it. I rarely lose games off of this, and I usually will come up with more wins than not, but unless I'm playing against a really strong player, obviously. But yeah, if this is one of the best lines, if you're trying to, really mix it up and you're trying to get creative, but there's a lot of traps in this, and there's a lot of ways you can go into a loss yourself if you're not careful. So watch out for that. But other than that, this is a very good line to learn for sure.
Yeah, it's very tricky, as you said. It's a lot of traps for both sides. You have to be very careful. This was an opening where, again, I haven't studied it as long as I have the Waterloo, but I've been using it in my repertoire for many years, and I'm not really sure the reason for it. Why it's just I've always been kind of drawn to it. I do like position beats possession. And I do like the Black Doctor is good as well, but the White Doctor here, it just seems more natural as well when you're playing into this opening where you have a lot of players that will play 22-18, and then playing that 12-16 next, you really invite it. So yeah, I think though if we're looking at this from a beginner's standpoint, it's probably a bit too advanced, just because again you're having to go a piece down, you're having to defend it. I would say, wait just a little bit before you really get into this opening. Maybe even until you're an expert. But I don't know, Alex. Do you think players should be more aggressive and try to learn this earlier on in their career?
No, I'd agree with you. This is probably more in the intermediate / expert category. This is a very complicated line to learn at first, so I think they should wait on this for a little bit before studying up on this, as well as dealing with the Black Doctor as well. So I'd agree with you.
Yeah, and I think with both doctors, it is good just to see, the scope of checkers, that position does beat possession. And going a piece down, yes, in a lot of times, in a lot of games, it's not to your advantage. You'll end up losing. But when you can secure strong positions and become more familiar with some of these themes, you can become more comfortable and start playing more gambit lines like these doctors give you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, very good. So we're coming to the penultimate opening here, and that is the Dyke, but from the white side. So what that looks like is 11-15, 22-17, 8-11, and then 17-14. Now, Alex, in my most recent video, or actually it won't be that most recent by this time this is published, but I talk about opening theory, and I talk about how this line really cuts down the scope that red has, or the first side has, because the second player now is dictating the play of game. This line is used a lot in master tournament play as well as world championship play because of its restrictive nature. With that being said, I'm sure because of your nature, you're probably not as big of a fan of this, but I know that if I'm playing a grandmaster player, I'm probably going to play this 99% of the time because I know it's a good, safe route, traditional, and maybe if you're lucky, you can get a win or two.
I'd agree with that. I don't really play this that much, but I will say when people do play this with me when they're white, I always go 12-16, and then usually people either go 24-20 or 26-23. But if they go 24-20, I have actually been studying up, and I have noted to where I started going 3-8, and I've actually started winning more games by going 3-8 recently. So I may start using this line more if it comes up in tournaments here soon, but yeah, I haven't really played it that much to a degree.
Yeah, I also, again, when the opportunity comes up and I'm playing a player either of my skill or even better, I'm going to play because of its restrictive nature. I think that's the reason I like it so much. It's also, again, you take away everything that red has planned. Maybe red wants to play into the Pioneer or the Glasgow or the Fife. There's so many other possibilities, but when you put that 17-14 move in there, you're pretty much saying, okay, red, you're going to play my game now. There's nothing you can do about it, which is why I advocate for this opening.
Absolutely, me too. Absolutely.
All right, and finally, the last opening of the series, which I hope you all have enjoyed. We have the Will-O-the-Wisp, and this opening is 11-15, 23-19, 9-13. And then 22-18 exchange. Now, I know we talked about the Whilter-Exchange being a very lively opening. I think this is probably the liveliest of openings. There is tremendous scope on both sides. You can have a ton of fun with this, which is why I would guess, Alex, you probably like this opening quite a bit.
Yeah, actually, I played this a couple of times in the South Africa match here lately, and I won 2 of the 3 times, and then I drew the other one. I can't remember who it was against, but yeah, this definitely a fun line. I always go 7-11 right here, and then just to reply to this, but I mean, if I would recommend this to beginners, honestly, because this is another one of those openings or variations, I should say, that both sides definitely have a good chance of winning this game, possibly. And I mean, I know everybody wants to win as much as I do, so definitely study on this one, in my opinion. I don't know what you say about it.
Yeah, well, the 7-11, that's probably the most popular reply, and then of course you hope that the second side goes 18-14 because that's the loss.
Right.
I have fallen into that loss before. I'm not going to hold back. I have, but I've also players have fallen into that loss against me before, so I have a lot of history with that line. All of course, you had the Albert Lauder line with the 1317 next.
Right.
So there's so much scope here, and I agree with you. I think this is good for beginners to learn, but because of the scope, Alex, but because there's so much available out there, I'd maybe put it towards kind of maybe a later beginner opening to learn. Like I'd say, learn single corner first, Old 14th, cross, those openings. Maybe put the will, if you're going to really kind of focus on 10 openings, I would maybe put it towards, kind of later, like 8 or 9 or maybe even 10, just because of the scope. There's so much in here to learn that you might get overwhelmed a little easily, which is why that's kind of my recommendation.
Yeah, I can go with that for sure. I could definitely follow up with that. Yeah, I'd agree.
And again, a style of play that I advocate, especially if you're a beginner, is to play more restrictive at first. Get really comfortable, mastering some of these positions and these formations. With the Will-O-the-Wisp, I mean, it kind of throws a lot of theory out the window because, again, the possibilities moving 7-11, as we both like here, the position just looks a little strange. And I think beginners might... I just don't know if they'd be set kind of on the right foot learning this right away.
Absolutely.
All right. So, well, Alex, I can't believe it. We finished all 40 openings in Lee's guide. I really enjoyed this. I hope you had a good experience as well.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you inviting me. Hopefully we can, build this up down the road and hopefully keep it going soon. This was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing more stuff like this.
Yeah, no, me too. This is really the first collaborative I've done here, and I hope the viewers have enjoyed it too. And of course, we're always welcome to hearing your feedback. And if you want to reach out to either Alex or myself, please leave us a comment. More than happy to respond. And again, thanks as always for watching.